Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. 90-Day Fiance Pedro Jimeno suffers devastating loss. 90-Day Fiance star Pedro Jimeno is mourning a loss in his latest social media post. He's known for being one of most successful reality personalities behind the cameras. He was able to turn his life around since his divorce from Chantal Everett in March 2022. He's been thriving as a real estate agent. But despite his wealth, Pedro couldn't save a loved one. Keep reading to see his sad news. Aside from his multiple property deals, Pedro has also been documenting his bodybuilding journey over the past few months. The 90-Day Fiance star likes to share clips from his intense workout routines, lifting heavy weights and performing different kinds of cardio exercises. Pedro was also commended for his maturity. Last month, he shared a strong message about discipline and consistency in life. According to him, his physical journey hasn't been easy, but seeing his progress makes him even more motivated. He added, small daily habits add up over time. But amid his transformation journey, Pedro recently shared sad news after a loved one passed away. Pedro Jimeno recently took to IG stories to share the devastating news about a loved one's passing. According to the 90-Day Fiance star, his dog Chiqui just passed away. He uploaded numerous pictures to remember his dog. Pedro didn't exactly share what happened, but the dog may have died from old age. Some of the photos Pedro shared also showed Chiqui wearing clothes and accessories, proving that he was loved by his master. This wasn't the first time Pedro showed how much he loves animals. He also owns cats and has uploaded hilarious photos with them online. Last December, the 90-Day Fiance star shared a picture of his black cat hanging out at the top of his kitchen shelves. He captioned, "Black cats are different." Many fans also salute Pedro for being a pet lover. Unfortunately, he hasn't shared an update about his cats for quite some time due to his busy life as a real estate agent. Pedro Jimeno has also been discreet about his love life. However, he was previously rumored to be linked with another cast member, Sophie Sierra. This comes after the two uploaded IG stories with each other's identical feet. They drove to the same place, creating speculations that they were dating. Sophie ended her relationship with Rob Warren by the end of 90 Day, the last resort. Meanwhile, Rob is also expected to appear in the upcoming new spin-off, 90 Day Hunt for Love. What makes things interesting is that Pedro's ex-wife, Chantal Everett, will be in the spin-off, creating speculations that Rob and Pedro may have swapped partners. The first season of 90 Day Hunt for Love will premiere on May 26, 2025 on. If you are looking for more 90-Day Fiance news, come back to for all your updates. Reality television has a way of turning ordinary lives into public spectacles, where love, conflict, and vulnerability unfold in front of millions. Few stars of 90-Day Fiance have exemplified this more than Pedro Jimeno, the charismatic Dominican who captivated audiences with his tumultuous love story alongside Chantal Everett. But now, fans are rallying behind Pedro for a much more sobering reason. He's facing one of the hardest chapters of his life, an unimaginable personal loss. According to a close family source, Pedro Jimeno is mourning the death of his beloved grandmother, Abuela Lydia, who passed away unexpectedly in the Dominican Republic last week. More than just a relative, she was his guiding light, his second mother, and one of the only constants in a life riddled with complications, especially in the whirlwind of his international marriage and its subsequent collapse. Pedro is devastated, the source said. This isn't just the loss of a grandparent, it's the loss of his emotional anchor. For fans who followed Pedro's journey from the moment he stepped off the plane into Atlanta to the implosion of the family Chantal, This moment of vulnerability paints a sobering contrast to the often volatile persona seen on screen. Behind the viral clips, the arguments, and the dramatic family dinners was a young man trying to build a better life, not only for himself, but for the people he loved. And no one represented that motivation more clearly than Abuela Lydia. Pedro frequently spoke about her in interviews, often crediting her with instilling the work ethic and resilience that helped him navigate the sometimes hostile waters of American culture and fame. Unlike the fractious relationship he shared with his mother, Lydia Sr., his grandmother was his confidant. She was the quiet strength behind the scenes, keeping him grounded when her passing reached Pedro while he was reportedly on location in Miami, filming a new real estate segment for an upcoming reality spin-off. Production immediately halted, and Pedro was flown back to Santo Domingo within 24 hours. Photos surfaced online of Pedro at the funeral, dressed in a black gayabera, clutching a rosary, surrounded by grieving family members and childhood friends. Social media erupted with condolences. Thousands of fans flooded his Instagram with heartfelt messages. "We're with you, Pedro," wrote one user. "You may have lost your abuela, but you gained 1 million people lifting you up." Despite the outpouring of support, Pedro has remained mostly silent. His only public acknowledgement was a single poignant post. It featured a faded photo of him as a child, sitting in Abuela Lydia's lap, her arms around him in a tight embrace. The caption read simply, "Mi fuerza, mi corazón. Descansa en paz, abuela." Grief, however, has a way of transforming us. And those closest to Pedro say he's already channeling the pain into purpose. He's using this time to reflect, another source close to him shared. He's reevaluating his choices, his relationships, and what kind of man he wants to be, not just in the public eye, but in his personal life. Insiders reveal that Pedro, now 33, had recently started reconnecting with estranged members of his extended family, some of whom had been distanced by the chaos surrounding the family Chantel and his divorce from Chantel Everett. Abuela Lydia's death served as a bridge, bringing long-separated relatives together under one roof, not just to mourn, but to forgive, to talk, to remember what really matters. In a poetic twist of fate, it seems tragedy has begun to soften some of the sharper edges of Pedro's public persona. He's been humbled, the source said. Grief will do that. It reminds you that fame fades, but love and legacy are what remain. It's a sentiment Pedro seems to be embracing. Those around him say he's planning to establish a small educational fund in his grandmother's name to help underprivileged kids in Santo Domingo pursue careers in real estate or hospitality, fields that helped Pedro carve out his own American dream. "She always wanted me to help people," he reportedly said to a cousin. "Now I can help them in her name." As Pedro charts this new course, speculation is already growing. Will this loss, and the personal reckoning it triggered, play out on camera? TLC has not confirmed whether Pedro will appear in any upcoming 90-day spin-offs, but some industry insiders suggest that producers are eager to capture this next, more introspective chapter of his life. "He's not the same Pedro anymore," said one production assistant. "There's a maturity, a sadness, but also a fire. He's starting to understand that the story he wants to tell might not be about marriage or reality TV. It might be about healing." It remains to be seen whether this season of sorrow will pave the way for a new narrative arc, one less focused on televised romance and more on real personal growth. But if Pedro Jimeno has shown us anything, it's that his life, like the show that made him famous, is filled with unexpected turns. And in the wake of loss, perhaps the most powerful transformation is learning how to live for someone you've lost. As the sun set over the hills of Santo Domingo during Abuela Lydia's memorial, Pedro stood silently at the edge of her garden, hands in pockets, eyes on the horizon. A neighbor later said she overheard him whisper something softly to the wind.